development engagement, and the link to IAC programs. For those who don't know me, let me introduce myself. I'm Kate Bacon. I'm the Customer Relations and Events Manager based for IAC over in the UK. For today's webinar, due to the number of participants, we will be putting you all on mute to avoid disturbances during the session. And can I therefore encourage you all, please to use the chat box on the right-hand side of your screens for any questions. And for those unable to join us today, we will, of course, as always, be recording the session, and I will forward the recording together with the slides to you all after the webinar. Now, let me introduce our presenters today. Joining us from IAC is our CEO, Mark Cooper, and we are delighted to welcome Shannon Swaney. Shannon is a 10-year veteran of Aramark, currently in the position of Regional HR Manager for the leisure line of the business. Shannon has been in HR for over 25 years in various industries, including state, government, public utilities, real estate, non-profit, amusements and attractions. Currently, she supports over 20 conference and day centres all along the east coast of the US and beyond, many of which are IAC certified. Shannon is also an adjunct faculty in Human Resources Management and is just about and ready to begin her PhD. So now let me introduce you and hand you over to the presenters today, Mark and Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. I appreciate it. Mark, if you want to go ahead with the next slide.
Be pleased.
All right. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I see a lot of Aramark coworkers. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for the support. And a lot of new faces, so all over the country. Thanks for taking the time to spend the next hour with us talking about a couple of really important things, not only engagement and development, but also how IAC can support that. So we're going to talk about a few things on this call. We're going to go through a really brief and quick IAC background, kind of give you sort of the broader picture of what IAC does. And then we're going to talk about trends in engagement and development, and then sort of what the best practices in mentoring are telling us and how that ties into engagement. And then sort of conclude the presentation on IAC and how they can help. And if you're considering a mentor program, what comes after that? So that is our agenda for the session. I'm going to turn it over to Mark to do a little bit of IAC background. Mark?
Thank you very much, Shannon. And I can't believe after all that responsibility, you have time to do a PhD as well. That is hyper impressive. So I'm really looking forward to Shannon giving some of her insights into an area that we know globally through our research and through what members tell us, the shortage of talent, hiring the talent that is of the standard that we require around the world is one of our most difficult tasks. So member engagement, it's absolutely critical, and I'm really looking forward towards the end of this presentation telling you a little bit about the mentoring program that IAC created. But there's also some new names that are joining the webinar today, as well as some of you who are IAC veterans. And what I wanted to do is just give you a short snapshot as to IAC and our size and length and breadth. We're an association that is now 37 years young. We were founded in 1981. We were then and still are today incredibly unique association in the sense that we only represent those venues that meet IAC's global quality standards. Soon to be called our standards of brilliance. That's absolutely what we strive to represent. We are there in the marketplace, developing and understanding, creating and raising our brand profile with meeting planners throughout the world. Because the 300 venues that we represent in 26 countries represent the top 1% of small to mid-sized meeting venues. So, of course, to represent the top 1%, we have to have the top 1% of staff. We have to operate in the top 1% when it comes to customer service and standards and attitude and recovery to issues and challenges that happens on our property. So that's just a snapshot as to what IAC represents, and I'm happy to hand it back over to Shannon now.
All right, thank you. So let's start with a story. So for those of you on the call who know me rather well, you might know a little bit of that story, but I want to go back. When we think about mentorship, back when I graduated from high school many moons ago, I was kind of a lost ship. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't really understand what I was good at. I had nobody who really believed in me at the time. I mean, my parents certainly, yes, but in terms of a work career, I was kind of floundering. I had graduated with these, basically amorphous degrees, and I didn't know really what to do with it. And I got a job, and I thought, I'm going to get that $50,000 a year job, because back then that was a lot of money. And they're going to pay me just because I'm a college educated graduate, and I didn't have any skills per se, and I didn't really, as I said, I didn't have any direction. So I really floundered with the now what? I'm in a job. What do I do with it? What do I do with this degree that I spent 4 years earning? And the answer for me really came in kind of a surprising way. I went to work. My first job was a little HR file clerk for the Virginia Department of Transportation. My job was to keep track of 10,000 personnel files. And that was my job. And as you can imagine, for a college graduate who was ready to do something big and make an impact and didn't know what it was, but really had this vision of sort of where I wanted to be in 5 and 10 years, filing in an HR file room all day long really didn't fit the bill. But what happened was I met a really cool guy, and that guy saw something in me. And he said, I want you to do more. I think you can do more. And from then on, he really spent a lot of time developing me. And so my lack of direction ended up as a lack of engagement. But when somebody believed in me and took the time and invested in my talent, the intended consequences of that were that I had a safe place to make mistakes, and I had a safe place to learn, and I had a safe place in which to be inventive and be innovative. And I had the mechanism with which to test assumptions. And I figured out that I really, really loved HR. Not only did I really love it, it was my life. I live it, breathe it, drink it. I love what I do. And I credit that love of HR to my mentor. We didn't call it mentors back then. He was just a guy who took some interest in me. Because of him, I've been in HR for over 25 years. And every day is a new day, and every day is a fun day. And I credit that entire thing to my mentor back in the 90s. But now, the intended consequence of that is, fast forward current day, I'm a big proponent of mentorship, because let's face it, guys, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for somebody believing in me. And I can't help but think that all the kids that are coming out of school that are sort of rudderless, that don't really know which way to go, that's where we have the impact. But we also have the impact in those people who maybe have lost their direction or have been in the same job for so long that they are, again, rudderless and don't really have that direction. Mentorship gives us the impact on engagement. It gives us the impact on return on investment, and a lot of things we'll discuss on this in this course. But for me, as I said, mentorship started early, and it had such a tremendous impact on me. And hopefully by the end of today, you guys will understand why A, it's important, but B, why developing a mentorship program in your organization, even if it's a small informal mentorship, has such a big impact as you go forward with your engagement scores, with your keeping people, having an engaged workforce, profit. There's so many ways that mentorship helps your business operate successfully. All right, so let's take a minute before we get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation, and let's do a poll. So why do you think good employees leave jobs? So take the chat feature and give me some ideas and reasons why you think, the top reasons why employees leave jobs.
So we've got some feedback coming in, Shannon, now. Julie says frustration in management.
Okay, frustration in management. That's a good one.
John Beasley, thank you for that, John. They stall out and don't have direction on where they're heading next.
So lack of direction. That's a good one. Thank you, John.
Sabri from Dolce in Brussels, lack of recognition.
Okay. Not enough thank yous and attention for what they're doing.
And Demetria, money.
Money, yeah. They don't get paid enough.
And Gail, career progression.
What's the
Another
future
one,
for them? Yeah.
Sarah, no growth opportunities.
Yeah, so they're at the top of their ceiling. They may be the last HR person in their organization, or they may be the last food service position in their organization.
Yeah, Cindy McQuaid, lack of training.
Yep, you don't know what you need to do to be successful.
Kevin Morris, not supported.
Yep.
Lee Shell, lack of direction from the organisation. Lisa West, culture mismatch.
Oh, that's a good one, Lisa.
And Vernie again, no growth. Susan Liston, thank you for that. Lack of career path.
Yep, there's nowhere to go.
Natalie Thompson, thank you, Natalie. Not enough challenge.
Oh, I like that one. The job doesn't give you enough challenge.
David, not part of a team. Stephanie,
so teamwork and engagement.
Stephanie, thank you, Stephanie. Poor leadership. Any more?
All right. One more minute. Anybody else want to weigh in? These are all great. I think they're all great. I was surprised I did not see one. If you can forward on to the next slide. Okay, so I read this article in SHRM, and it got me thinking of the myth of bad boss. And we actually talked about it during the during the IAC conference this past year. I really kind of dove into the idea that SHRM suggests that managers who enable their employees to do work they enjoy, help them work to their strengths, and enable their employees to carve a path for development is actually the reason why they retain their workforce. And that the myth of the bad boss, like horrible bosses there you see in the picture, is not actually true. Rather, it's because employees aren't what everybody said: no career path, no support, no, not enough money. Not a lot of you said bad boss. In fact, really none of you did. It was more about culture. It was more about money. It was more about career progression. It was more about, is there a path for me in this organization? Is the work meaningful? Do I get to leave an impact? All of those things are why employees leave, not really the myth of bad boss anymore. It's kind of moved past that. And certainly while I enjoyed tremendously the movie Horrible Bosses, it was quite the train wreck. It really is worth noting that the things that matter to employees are changing. And as a workforce, we need to change with them. So let's talk a little bit about what those things are. Go ahead, Mark, one more slide. So really and truly, and I think many of you said these things, right? Employees want development and mentoring. They want to know what's next for them and how do they get there. And more importantly, they want that roadmap. They want somebody to sit with them and invest in them and be a part of their career and help them get to the next level. They want more opportunities to do what I do best, whatever that is. They want that. All of us want that. We want an opportunity to shine. We want an opportunity to show what we're made of and to be given the opportunity to do that and to be rewarded for doing it. They also really want clarity around success measures. So a lot of you said it. What's my next step? How do I get there? What is the path for me? Mentors are a critical part of that roadmap to success because let's face it, guys, mentors, no matter what industry, mentors have been there and done that and done it successfully. So, they have the roadmap to success. That's the part that mentors play in all of this. But you know what? They also want to know, most importantly, that a company is invested in them. The most powerful piece of the mentorship that I experienced was the fact that somebody who was not told to, didn't have an invested interest in me, took an interest in me, invested in my development, grew me and developed me into an HR person. And that was the most valuable piece that resonates with me today. And that, guys, is what we call engagement. All right, let's move on. So let's talk about what is engagement. Engagement is the state of state of emotional and intellectual commitment to an organization, the degree to which you have captured the hearts and minds of your employees. I like that because it really does spark on the emotional and intellectual piece. So let's not be confused. Engagement is not the same as happiness and satisfaction. Satisfaction is measured by the level of happiness, but it doesn't measure the level of effort an employee is willing to expand on behalf of the company. So you could be happy, but you don't necessarily put in the effort, right? So it could be that you're satisfied, but it doesn't mean that you're putting forth that optimal level of effort on behalf of the company. Engagement is emotional commitment to an organization and considers the amount of effort they're willing to invest. So again, let's just be sure we're clear on this. Engagement is not the same as happiness and satisfaction. Engagement really encompasses not only how you feel about the organization and on an emotional level, but it's also how much you are willing to do and go above and beyond for that company. That's what the heart of engagement is. Next, please, Mark. So engaged employees are often company champions. They're not necessarily the ones that are always wearing the pom-poms and doing the pep rallies, but they are champions of the company's mission, vision, values, and they believe in the work that the company is doing. They often intend to stay long-term in an organization, so it's often the folks that are there long-term, although it doesn't necessarily mean that, but often it is the long-term employees. And those are the employees that regularly achieve above and beyond. So those in performance terms are your meets, exceeds, significantly above targets, above targets. Those are the employees that we all want to cultivate. Wouldn't it be lovely if we had a team full of all of those people as opposed to some of the others sprinkled in? So engagement really, really equals return on investment and retention. Engaged people stay at an organization. They invest in the organization. They are there for the long term. They are willing to do whatever it takes to do the job and get the job done. Disengaged employees are 4 times more likely to leave than engaged employees. That's huge when you consider turnover, when you consider how much onboarding costs, when you consider the average cost of what it takes to hire an employee. If you have, out of 5 employees that you hire, you have 4 that leave, you're losing money by the bucket. In reality, you're spending time, effort, and energy on people who are likely to become disengaged. And by the way, those disengaged employees are 4 times more likely to leave than those that are engaged. So the 2 top drivers of engagement worldwide, and this is based on studies and white papers and a lot of engagement surveys. The 2 top drivers, hands down, no questions asked, are career development and training. So they're different. So the difference between career development and training is very simple. Career development really focuses on what you need to do to be prepared for your next role. Whatever your next role is, whatever the next step is for you, that's career development. It's development above and beyond where you are in order to get you prepared for your next step. As opposed to training, which is really the kind of on-the-job sort of activity that helps you to be better in the job you're currently doing. So when you think about the top 2 drivers of worldwide engagement, what you're really thinking about is, I want to do my job really well right now, and I really want help doing my job better in the future. So I really want to be ready for my next move. I really want to be considered for my next move. I really want to be in that pool for my next move and prepared and ready when it comes along. So the cost of disengagement in the US alone is $450 billion. So when you consider that disengaged employees are 4 times more likely to leave, $450 billion in the US alone, and that doesn't even include United Kingdom and Australia, other countries. That's just simply the US. Imagine if we were able to move the needle on that. That would be tremendous. Performance is on average 23% higher with an engaged workforce, according to a 2011 Corporate Leadership Council study. So 23% higher performance with an engaged workforce. Those are core numbers that really get at the point of why engagement is important. And by the way, guys, the fact of the matter is that engagement is plummeting. It is plummeting worldwide. 62, go ahead, Mark, with the next slide if you could. 62% rank development and mentorship as very important to contributing to job satisfaction. Number 2 on the list behind job security at 63%. So if you think about it, guys, with this study, 62% ranked development and mentorship as the key component to their job satisfaction, i.e. their engagement, with job security being number 1 at 63%. That's only separated by a percent, okay? So engagement has been plummeting since 2015. A 2017 trends report of 5 million employees with 1,000 organizations, 40% of those polled are highly to moderately engaged. So they represent the 4 folks in the little blue shirts. While the rest, 60% are disengaged and actively seeking new roles or actively disengaged. All of that is higher turnover, higher absentee rates, lower customer satisfaction, and then finally, all of those things, they affect your bottom line. So lower financial performance. That's pretty amazing when you think about it, that 60% are in some form of disengagement for various reasons. It could be any of the things that you guys mentioned. It could be any of the things I talked about. So let's take a minute and flip the switch to the 40% who are actively engaged. Think for a minute about some results of having an engaged and invested workforce. So use your chat feature and give me some intended consequences that come with an engaged workforce. So what's the things that come out of that, being engaged?
Julie says trust.
Say again.
Trust.
Yep.
More profit.
Absolutely.
Sabri says dedication.
Yep.
Innovation.
That's a big one. In the area where conference centers are looking for innovation, that's one of their number 1 drivers. That is a direct consequence of an engaged workforce.
We've got increased productivity and teamwork. Increased revenue from new clients. Motivation of others. Positive work environment. Efficiencies from Mark. Andrea, better performance, sorry.
Yeah.
Any more?
All of these things are good things, right? They're what we want. We want profit, we want efficiencies, we want innovation, we want all of these things. If you can flip the switch, the slide.
We've also got a couple of late ones there, Shannon. Greater ownership and leadership succession.
Absolutely. The succession planning, absolutely. So this is actually a word cloud that I did with all of the intended consequences when I did this last time, and these were some of the things that came out of it. But as you can see, the bigger the word, the more response we had. So clearly the connection between mentorship and development and career progression is truly engagement. But it's also synergies, retention, quality, knowledge growth, marketability, productivity. All of these things are key drivers of engagement. And this is, all of these things are opportunities to do what I do best. Engagement is the core of productivity and marketability and growth and financial stability, right? So we heard a few slides ago that a key driver of engagement is offering development and opportunities to do what I do best. A strong mentorship program, which matches an experienced mentor with an individual in their field, is a way to address lower engagement scores. It also offers a valuable way to retain industry knowledge and sends a clear message to the participants about their value to the organization. So at the end of the day, successful mentoring builds employee alignment and it builds engagement. So here's one. More than 1 in 3 of your current workforce are millennials. And guess what, guys? Those millennials expect development and mentorship. And they are unafraid to leave if their needs aren't met. So obviously millennials are more transient than some of our other populations of employees. But millennials really look for that development and mentorship because, by the way, they come out of school not unlike any of us, not unlike me in the 90s when I came out of school. I really needed somebody to take me under their wing and mentor me, and I'm thankful that I had that. So successful mentorship leads to skills and increased innovation. As I said a few minutes ago, one of the things that we're constantly striving for in the conference center space and really beyond is innovation. How do we do it better? How do we do it more creatively? How do we wow? How do we do what nobody else has done? Mentorship helps us get there because at its core, if it's done well, a successful mentorship relationship allows a mentor and a mentee to drive toward innovation together. Take some of what's been done before with some of the out-of-box thinking and come up with an innovative way to do something or to address a problem. Mentorship can fill in the gaps of poor managers. Sadly, all of us have been in a situation where we've either been managed by a poor manager or we've seen a poor manager. And a lot of times, addressing those gaps with a mentorship relationship really helps that person be successful. So it fills in where the poor managers are not often able to meet the needs of their employees. And then it improves retention and lowers onboarding costs. We talked about how employees who are engaged, who are developed, who are mentored, they stick around. Why should they go anywhere? Right? At the end of the day, they're getting everything that they need from the job that they have. They're putting their 190% into it every day. They're innovative, successful, creative. All of this mentorship ties into and helps them be their, if you excuse the expression, their best self. All right. So, are you considering a mentor program? So if you are considering a mentor program, and if I've sold you on the idea of a mentorship program and really how it contributes to engagement, and you're considering it, let's talk about some important elements of mentoring. So the first is, if you have a mentoring program, it's super important that you have some sort of knowledge transfer. And that really is a formalized program that has components which lay out experiences and milestones. I am not necessarily negative toward those informal mentorship programs. I think those are important. But I think when we consider a mentor program that has a specific measurable outcome at the end, it sets the mentor and the mentee up for success. It also is very programmed and specific so that you can identify those things that are important during this mentorship relationship. So the second thing to consider is, do you have executive buy-in? And what I mean by that is, it would be lovely if all of our CEOs and CFOs and all of the other CEO positions really supported the notion of a mentorship program, a formal mentorship program. I'm going to take it down one step and say, some of you on the call, and I see quite a few of you who lead your own property on the call, do you believe in this? You leaders, do you believe in the notion of the mentor program? Do you support it? Do you actively support it? Do you participate in it? Are you even considering being a mentor for someone else? Model behavior you want to see and model by doing. So it doesn't necessarily, have to be your CEO, but there does have to be executive buy-in. So is your company culture strong enough to support a mentoring program? Only you guys can answer that. I think that when we think about culture, it's such a dynamic concept that really encompasses engagement and some other factors. I think you have to decide whether your company, in maybe even your little subset, your line of business or your individual business, can you support a mentoring program successfully? And finally, is there a tie back to performance management? If you're considering a mentoring program, you need to make it such that it's in conjunction with goals and your performance appraisal system. Are your mentees getting credit for being a mentee? Are your mentors getting credit for the work that they do with their mentees? All right, next slide. So finally, a successful mentoring program, in essence, according to research, really is these things. It's these 5 things. It's simple. It has clear-cut guidelines, to-do lists, step-by-step. It is simple and it's easy to implement. It's also full of motivating incentives. Is there a reason for the mentors to do it? Is there a reason for the mentees to do it? and it's full of qualified mentors. It has to be a partnership. If you don't have the right people in the mentor slots, then the mentees are getting nothing out of it. Or maybe it's not a good partnership. So make sure that it's full of qualified mentors. And then is it marketed, right? You need to use your brand. Have you marketed your mentorship program to the right people who are sitting in the right seats who can make the most of the program? And then again, as I said, it's got to be done with senior leadership support. That's a successful mentoring program. Okay, so IAC is a key driver in WorldCrest programming for conference center professionals. I want to turn it over now to Mark to talk about IAC's mentoring program and how you can become involved with their programming. Mark?
Shannon, thank you for that. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about that. But just before I do, there was 3 things there that I picked up on that I just wanted to share or resonated with some of the things that I hear. Well, the first one, was a real insight to me. Those that step up to become mentors have often gone through and experienced the benefits of somebody mentoring them in the past. And when I think about myself and my willingness to mentor other people, I always think about that opportunity that those 1 or 2 people gave me 5, 10, 20 years ago, that it's now time for me to give back. So, you're all, those that are stepping forward, and particularly within IAC, it's safe to assume that they've probably seen phenomenal benefits of having somebody who invested in them, just like that person invested in you and helped you carve a career in hospitality HR. The other one as well that stood out to me was you talked about, the longevity of people within their role and how often a successful mentorship or development program means that people stick in their role. And I was only really wanting to call out to this group as well that through our research, we have seen parallels between the longevity of staff in their role at properties, connected to their, the longer that they stay with us, not only the more knowledgeable that they are, but also the greater ownership they take to getting it right. And, the more pain they feel personally when things go wrong. And we're still within a hospitality industry that is seeing a really rapid turnover of staff that affects, that connection to the property, or indeed, the amount of time that they stay with the property. And I'm not saying that, we're in an environment where we expect jobs for life, not, far from it. But, if we can retain our staff for longer, if we can be part of their career development and offer opportunities that maybe are just outside of the immediate sales and training capabilities of a single property or a single company, that's got to be a great thing, right? And also, Shannon, you talked as well about, the formality of a mentor program. And whilst that structure is really important, and we'll talk about that a little bit in terms of the process in the coming slides, but also it reminded me of the importance of some of the informal mentorship opportunities that we get, those connections we make, whether it's an IAC conference or a different conference over a period of time, and how we've seen many of our members, and myself included, building a relationship and getting some form of informal mentorship and support and advice from those colleagues that, we've met at an IAC conference that are from, your state, your region, your country, or maybe not even in your country, somewhere the opposite side of the world. So, there are many ways that you can get the benefits of mentorship, or we do get the benefits of mentorship as well as outside of those programs. Do they make sense? Do they resonate with what you see?
Yeah, I think for me, it's interesting. My mentorship experience started out very informally, but ended up being very formal. So it's kind of it started out and I didn't even know what was happening. I was so young and I just didn't know. But I agree with you. All the connections that you make along the way are all very helpful to making you a better professional, making you better at what you do, and exposing you to things that you don't necessarily see on a daily basis. So I think all of those things are informal and formal, are important and necessary as we go along.
And at the time, we just thought they were there to give us a hard time, right? It was only the years afterwards that we realized that they were truly honing us and pushing us to be something different.
Correct. Correct.
Well,
Absolutely.
let me tell you a little bit about the IAC program. So it's 2 years old now. The IAC mentoring program is absolutely unique and exclusive to IAC members. So although we get some interest from outside of the IAC family, you can only participate either as a mentor or a mentee if you are an active member of IAC. And for all of us on the call today, of course, we are already active members, and it's a cost-free mentorship program. It's part of the benefits that we provide, just as we also provide the Global Staff Exchange and the internship programs. All of them you can find within the education section and the development section of IAC's website. But the mentoring program is absolutely unique to the IAC community, and it's global. It is one where we have looked at globally connecting mentors and mentees in different parts of the world. And you talked a lot about millennials and incoming generational expectations there, Shannon. The one thing we know is that there is a hunger and an appetite, more so today than ever before in the past, to learn practices, best practice, management skills, from all around the world. So I can definitely see that that's going to resonate with some of those wanting to understand how we do things within the hospitality industry worldwide. It's also self-managed. So with that, I say it's unregulated by IAC. So we go through a careful process of the mentee and the mentor carefully matching their ability and capabilities to be able to give the right amount of time to each other, and to also help the mentee learn the specific skills that they want. So until we get that matching in place, we may well still look for a different pairing to make sure we meet both obligations. If we have a mentee that's looking for one day's worth of mentoring in a month, but we have a mentor that can only give half a day per month, of course, then we'll identify that right up front. We'll also take a look, and this is an important one, we'll take a look at really whether the mentee is, or the person requesting mentoring support is ready for that. Have they been in their role long enough? Have they learned from those, in their immediate surroundings, or have they given them that chance before they look at, finding a match and finding a mentor outside of the organization? So we're very careful that we find a balance between getting the skills of a mentor that's not ingrained in your organization and operation, where those skills already exist, and try to make sure it's truly worthwhile. It's a very straightforward process that we go through as well. You can sign up, go to iaconline.org, to the website. You have a mentee application form, or indeed, if we've inspired anyone on the call today, and I'm sure you probably have, Shannon, to consider being put forward as a mentor, there's equally a form for you to be able to complete there, and it will be great. We can hold your information, and when we find a match, we can get in touch and see if that is one that we can move forward on. But complete the application. Within one working business day, you'll receive a response from us, and then we'll keep in touch with you as we go through the process of trying to match. We will always have a telephone interview with you as a mentee first, just again getting a little bit deeper beyond the application form to make sure we truly understand what you're looking for, and then we will embark on that process. So other than that, we have some guidelines, what you can expect from being a mentee, what you can expect from your mentor, how we can help things if they don't go the way you want, or you're not receiving the type of advice or support or learning that you require. You can find all of those in the mentoring page of the IAC website. And really, on that basis, I'd be very happy for us now to open it back up to any areas of questions in the chat box, or we can open up, Kate, certainly the microphones for everybody to ask questions of Shannon on any of her experiences and the processes that she has in place for Aramark, or indeed on any of the elements of IAC's tour as well.
Unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I Yes, I muted for 1 second there, but just as I say, hopefully everybody heard me there. I'm happy to open it up for questions for Shannon and I on any of the elements of either IAC's program or indeed Shannon's extensive experience as well.
So actually, Mark, I have a question. I know a lot of people on the call are in various areas. Are in various areas of hospitality management. I guess the question is, with this mentoring program, do we have culinary mentorships and HR mentorships and GM mentorships? What's the scope of the mentorships available? Or is it really kind of limitless?
That's a really good question, and it is limitless. It is only limited by our ability to find a match, from a mentor perspective. But whatever discipline within our industry or within either our property management or group or corporate level management, whichever element that we will strive to go out there to find a mentor for them. So it can be culinary, it can be front of house, sales, marketing, general management, leadership, HR, guest services. It really, for us, the only limit is in our success in being able to find a great match, which we will always strive to do, of course. So I've just opened up the microphone now as well. To anyone who may have been asking a question before, apologies if you were muted, but all the microphones are now open. Kate, do we have any questions in the chat box that have come up?
No questions at the moment.
No questions at the moment. Okay, that's fine. So, Shannon, I'll take the opportunity. It looks like you've addressed everybody's areas of learning around the webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you as well for being able to deliver today's webinar, because I know you've got one of those wonderful seasonal colds which always come about right before you speak publicly, right? But you did a great job, and we will share. We've recorded today's webinar, so it will go way beyond the group that's joined us today, or indeed the group can share it if of value within their organisations. Just want to thank you on behalf of IAC, on behalf of us all, for sharing your insights that were truly, truly inspiring.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining.